Hello, everybody. My name is Jan Jeremias, and welcome to Pets, People, Life, and Longevity. I am here with my canine companion. Really, I don't really think he's a companion. I think he's the love of my life, Tonka. And a little bit about me. I'm a trained scientist who began exploring holistic and alternative healing about 18 years ago. I began my journey with the use of essential oils and began exploring other modalities like gentle massage, Reiki, and other forms of energy work for pets. I also work with people. As my coin phrase goes, the leash goes both ways. I am the co-author of the top-selling essential oil book for pets called Spoil Your Pet, a practical guide to using essential oils in dogs and cats. And today I'm really excited to welcome Erica to the show. And I want to share a little bit about her. I'm sure she's going to share a lot more, but we were connected and on LinkedIn, but I have to tell you that I feel like we share so many commonalities that it's, was really inevitable. It's kind of like it was fate or inevitable for us to meet. And I loved what she did. One of the things that I've had to work with through the years, with 18 years of working with people with pets, and also having pets of my own for probably the past 40 years or more, that eventually they pass away. And that loss can be so traumatic, so upsetting for us as a pet person, or if you've had a pet, helping a pet to transition and to then suffer that loss can be really harsh to us. And Erica has a beautiful story, and I wanted her to share the story and the creation of her, I don't even know what to call it anymore, like dream, vision.
I don't know either. Personal
mission with us today. So Erica, tell us a little bit about what happened and how you got into this, and a little bit why we're here.
Thank you. So I had a tragic accident. My cat died from a freak accident. And like you just mentioned, even when you can plan and have a beautiful goodbye to your animal, it's still hard. I think you talked about Tonka is your heart dog. Wolfgang was my heart cat. And so after he passed, I was not in a good place. I was not only grieving, but suffering from the shock and trauma of what had happened that I had to witness. And so, I knew I needed some help and I needed some tools, and I wasn't really sure. I was just so unprepared. So I thought, what I'd really love is like an affirmation card deck where I can just pick one thing a day to focus on. And I know that, if I stay positive and I stay in gratitude and these kinds of things, that I think I'm going to be okay. And unfortunately, I couldn't find anything. But then I said, I'm sure there's a book out there. There's got to be a million books. I'll just get them all. And there are a lot of books. And I really didn't know which one was going to help. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed and I have brain fog. And how much of these books do I have to read before I'm going to feel better and know that I'm going to be okay? Yeah. I just didn't have those resources that I was looking for. And so, being here in Munich, Germany was a problem as well, because I don't have access to everything in English. So ultimately, I was forced to really just sit and be quiet and be still and ask myself the question, what do I need to do to heal, to get through this? What kind of help do I need? What kind of actions do I have to take? And that led to simple daily practices that I would do, such as write a love letter, light a candle in memorial of Wolfgang, and have a time for reflection. And so these little things I started sharing with my mom. And she said, I think you need to make that affirmation deck that you couldn't find. And I said, I don't want to. That's a lot of work. And that's just no. And Jan, I had to reach out to a pet grief counselor just to make sure I was okay. Yeah. I didn't really want to get stuck in my grief or let it change me for the rest of my life in a negative way. Grief will change you in your life. You can't avoid that. And when she told me everything I was feeling and experiencing was normal, I was completely floored. I was just, wow. Oh, I did not expect that as an answer, to be honest. So that was the pivotal moment where I said, I think my mom's right. I think I need to make this to help other people. If I feel this bad and other people do too, whoa, I want to do something to help. And so to wrap up that summary of what happened, so yes, I've made the card decks there 2 different times, and then said, I want to go beyond that. I want to just find grief experts such as yourself, people that are in wellness and self-help. And I want to put together an awesome website that will support people that are grieving and give them the resources and tools they need, but also their families and friends so they know how to support them. So that's my mission, and I'm super excited to talk about it. I mean, it's grief, but I want to normalize grief, especially pet loss grief, and say like, hey, I want people to have the resources that they need when they need it. Plain and simple. So that's my nutshell story.
Oh, no, I love it. And I love the idea of normalizing grief, and also this whole idea of helping people to realize that there's nothing abnormal about grieving for a pet. I think, I've been told, and I think we've all been told this, if you've had pets and you're around people that are not pet people, they're like, it's just a pet, like, but really that belittles the love that you had for them as far as you're concerned. Like, I remember getting kind of angry at people. I'd leave them and be like, it was like, Tonka's my heart dog. He's not like just a pet by any means at all. So I love the whole idea of normalizing pets. So people feel like, like I'm not going crazy.
Right. And when they have those thoughts, that they can look for the help they need. Not everyone's going to need a pet loss counselor, and not everyone's going to need these cards, but to know about it, to normalize grief. And, Colleen Ellis, I want to quote her that, I think 70% of the population has a pet, and 30% of the population is telling us how we can act about it when they pass. Okay. So I haven't spoken to her about this, but that was really eye-opening to me, right? That we really need to be the ones to tell the other people, actually, this is a really big deal, and I'd like some time off of work, or, and to give compassion to them that they haven't had that beautiful bond and special relationship with an animal. I hope that everyone gets to have a relationship with an animal like I had with Wolfgang and that you have with Tonka, right? I've had other pets, and they weren't even close to this. This was an awesome relationship, and I miss him every day. But those scars on my heart, I know are there because I love so much, and that makes it okay for me. That keeps me saying it's okay.
And I think that as you talk about that love, I think that, I think we've all heard the phrase, or maybe we haven't, that we grieve so much because we loved so much. And that is how I look at different relationships that I've had, and the amount of grief that I felt, whether that be a pet or a person. And no one can define that relationship for you. No one, I don't think I could even, some of what I feel for Tonka, or I felt for other people, I don't think I could actually even put into words sometimes for people, because words don't actually sum it up enough even. And that's where I feel like some of your tools are so useful, because you get to be with that love that you had for them. And so I love the idea of, like you said, writing a love letter. Like, I love that, writing a letter to your pet, and a love letter, and just telling them in your own words
what was so special, and to also write down your best memories that you had with this animal, so that you could put this letter away and keep it. I actually made a template. I wanted people to have a nice way to do this, and so I made a template that's free for download at wolfieswish.com. And so you can write this out. Mine was 8 pages. So you could print out as many copies as you want, but put it away somewhere. And in 5 years, 10 years, pull it out and read it and go, oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that game we played, or I'd forgotten about, these little things that are so personal. And I think that's something that people fear too, is that if they process their grief or they start to feel better, are they going to forget, right? Are they going to forget that special relationship? And no, you just want to turn those memories into loving memories and not, tragic, scary ones that get stuffed away. I believe there's a silver lining in everything. And I think I'm testament to that you look at things the right way and you change your perspective and you're willing to be open and go into that dark, dark area, you can come out, I don't want to say unscathed, but you can live a full life and be joyful again. Definitely.
I think it's so beautiful. I think what part of the connection I felt with you was the fact that you took this tragic event or this event and you created something from it that was going to help other people. And that was the reason I got into essential oils in the first place. Was my first dog, was her, to help her, and then ended up helping a lot of other people along the way and their pets. But it's just this idea of, when I think about losing her, or because she died at 19. So the last number of years was a lot of, she was really good, but there was a lot more care than probably when she was a puppy. She was old. And sure. I just remembered that, as things would get really, and I would grab my oils and I'd have to work with them and everything. And then all of a sudden she would feel better. I'd be like, okay, that's why this is happening. So I have all this experience that I get to share, share, just like you had this event happen, and how basically it changed your life, but it's now changing other people's lives for the better.
Well, exactly. I did these for myself, right? And then I think, honestly, I did a little bit of a test, Jan. I did a GoFundMe with my friends and family to say, hey, I want to produce these cards. What do you guys think? And within 5 days, I think I'd raised like $6,000. And so, I would see these donations and just be like, okay, I'll do it. And it was like, I had all these it wasn't difficult at all. And my mom reminds me that when I have doubt, she's like, let's pull out the timeline of everything that happened in 9 months. So, but I think it saved me and helped me a lot to have something to work on, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about other people that maybe also have had pets die tragically or suddenly, right? Get hit by a car, or, having a heart attack or some disease where you don't get to say goodbye and you're just stuck with, what happened. It's like, how do I'm asking myself, how do I help those people have something to do? And I don't have that answer yet, but I want to get there, because I think that was a big part of my healing, was feeling like I could be useful and really diving into that. So maybe it's the answer is like picking up a hobby again and doing painting or some art therapy, or connecting with something that's very, I don't know, candle making, macrame, like things where you're touching things, you're involved. Do you have any experience with that, or is that anything that you've helped people with?
I've done almost, it is more like art therapy. So I have done some of that, where basically it's a conversation with people that you have around, let's say, an emotion, and then they have to kind of doodle or do artwork based on that emotion. And it might be something that's not really applicable to, for example, you might say, okay, my heart feels like it's in chains. Like I feel like my heart's, and then people will draw some sort of image that goes with that for them, that triggers that for them. And it's a great way, I find, to process emotions. It's a little bit different than taking up a hobby, because it has a particular purpose in mind. But I've done that with people. I think that being able to, and I think everybody has their kind of mode of how they like to express themselves. So for me, I was a fine art minor, so I love art, but I also now love to write. So to me, if I'm going to, it's going to be to journal. It's going to be to get my emotions, my thoughts down on paper so that I can look at it, I can read it. I can sit there and start to, I want to say digest it on a kind of a deeper level, because that's what I feel like is needed. Like you need that kind of, as much as sometimes those places are hard to go, it's.
Yeah, I think journaling is really important. And a lot of the therapists and counselors I've talked to really encourage that. And who knows? I mean, maybe there's a memoir buried in there that's going to come out, or maybe there's a story that needs to come out. And so just starting with pen to paper, you never really know where it's going to go, right? And to be open to creativity and be open to healing, and just I think that's where I got to where I am. I just sat and was still and asked myself, yeah, what's next? What do I do now? Some of that was journaling, a lot, but some of it, and I still do it when I need to.
Was this, so how many cards are there in the deck?
Yeah, thank you for asking. It's 30 cards, so it's designed for the first month. And what's cool is that you can put them away. You could read them all at once. You can come back to it. I end up reading these cards a lot and sharing them on Instagram, and I still find them helpful, right? Because for me, there's some guilt involved, and I think I could have done something different. I should have been trained in CPR. Yeah, and when I catch myself going there, I'm reminded of one of these cards that says, I'm willing to let go of feeling guilty. I did the best I could with what I had. And I remind myself, so I don't go down that road, right? And so the 30 cards, and there's even one deck, we have some bonus cards. You can write your own, or maybe work with a counselor and come up with something that's very specific for you. And we also have a gift deck, and that one comes with a stand, so you can display your favorite card. Maybe you really want to be reminded of that throughout the day, and not just, for me, I read them in the morning, or read them in the morning. And some are really nice to have out. Actually, and briefly, I just want to say that, Wolfgang had his first year anniversary of his passing. And I took out 4 cards and put them up in my bathroom, so I'd be reminded all day. My pet will always be in my memory. I focus on the good in my life. And those just kind of helped me work through that day. I think it was harder than I thought it was going to be. Have you had experience with a pet, I don't know how do you say it, death anniversary? And, having to struggle with those emotions again?
I am coming up on an anniversary for my last cat in like a month. And I think that one, it was very sudden. I mean, he was old, but he had a stroke. So there wasn't a lot of decision making like to be had, as far as like, should I go with, should I try to help him? Should I, do everything possible as far as that? But that was it was cost prohibitive, and he was 18. So I was kind of like, okay, I've got to let him go. But I think of all, he was probably the one I was the least prepared for, as far as when you talk preparation. I mean, my other animals were older, but had health issues that I was kind of helping them through. So there was care involved. So I was a little bit more prepared, I think, in some ways. For this, it was really sudden. And I don't think I was as prepared in that way, because I was like, I got up in the morning and he had a stroke, I think, in the middle of the night, and he couldn't walk and he couldn't move. And I was like, and he was old. So every day, it was kind of like as a gift at that point, but still, I think it's hard in some ways. And so I'm kind of wondering, and now I'm thinking to myself, well, what will I do on that day? And I think lighting a candle will be really nice for me.
Yeah.
And taking a moment, maybe taking out his, part of me is like, I don't know if I want to cry, what it's like, because I don't know if I want to go down that so much.
Yeah.
But I do want to honor him. And I think of it as an honoring, honoring him, honoring the love we had for each other. And so I probably will do at least something, grab a picture, take one of my favorite pictures of him.
I love the candle idea. Yeah. I still so I talked about lighting a candle and sitting. And I've bought the same candle 5 times in a row because that's my Wolfie candle now. And when I burn it, it's like, even if I'm not thinking about him, I know that it's almost like a Pavlovian response of just like, that's my connection candle, and it's lavender vanilla, and it's just like my thing. But I'm actually participating in a online memorial tonight, and it's a candle vigil on Instagram, and I think you just tapped into something that's a really good, simple thing to do, right? When that pet anniversary comes up, and you're not sure how you're going to feel, and you're not sure how you want to handle it, what a beautiful thing just to start there and say, okay, I've got that, and I'm going to honor my animal.
Yeah, and I think that there is something, I so believe that I would never have given up. Like, I never would have made the choice not to have them, not to have suffered afterwards for losing them. I really firmly so believe in all my being that I was so lucky to have them. And so I think that that's what it also means to me, is to honor that whole relationship. And yes, I do think about him often. But
what was his name?
Oh, his name was we called him Chan, but his name was Chandra, really, the moon, and which is Hindu or Sanskrit for the moon, but I called him Chan. And so he was this beautiful charcoal gray, and he was on every Zoom meeting I think I ever did. Like, if he was alive, he would be here, because he would walk across the screen and I would scoot him away. He was also very loud, really meowy. He was really loud. And all my friends would be like, do you have a baby back there? He was so loud. And so now I sit there and I'm just like, oh my gosh. But yeah, and it's those memories that you have to keep on reminding yourself of. Which is, of the 30, do you have a favorite? Is the candle your favorite, or do you have a favorite? Like, I don't want to say task, because it sounds like
it's funny. So conversations I have will remind me of a card, and you just reminded me of one that says, I can imagine my pet with me. I'm summarizing because I don't remember it verbatim, but I can visualize my pet with me anytime, anywhere. And it's like you talking about Chan and missing those moments, right? Where we're on Zoom right now. I mean, he could be here as your spirit cat if he wanted to. And that's the thing that I want to say about these cards, is it's impossible for me to write a one-size-fits-all card deck for everyone's belief system. And that's okay. So I want to say to anybody, if they have a card deck, if one doesn't speak to you, put it aside. You can even send it to a friend. Maybe it'll speak to you later. But to answer your question, I can visualize my pet with me anywhere, anytime. Came out of, I had to go on some family vacation commitment soon after his passing. And that one thing helped me so much to be in these different environments, but imagining Wolfgang in those environments. And it would make me laugh every time, because it was so easy for me to do. Like at the grocery store, riding the subway, sitting on the train platform, waiting for my train. I could so see Wolfgang next to me, and it was like, oh, let me just do this. This is a personal thing. No one needs to know, but I'm going to make myself smile. Like, I'd go get a massage because I'm really into self-care, and I could picture him in the room just sitting there watching, wondering what's going on, So I think that's probably my favorite card, because it's something that became ingrained and actually turned into a book called Spirit Cats, Tales of Spirit Cats, where you can imagine your animal doing all these things they couldn't do in your home or in your yard, and that it's making me laugh now. It makes my heart feel so good. So that's probably my favorite card.
When you were describing Wolfgang sitting, if you were getting a massage, because yesterday, actually, I go to a woman, my friend Julie, and she does sort of myofascial work. And so when I go see her, I take Tonka with me. And so he's laying on the floor usually. And every now and then, as I'm like face down and I'm looking down at the floor, and he's right there beneath me, and he's kind of looking up, or he'll come over while I'm getting treated and he'll give me kisses. So it's really fun. It's really funny.
Yeah.
So I could so imagine him there, obviously, in almost everything I do. And I think
and that might be something you want to, there's now a thing I know called anticipatory grief, and I hope that Tonka is healthy and will stay with you a long time. But that you could sort of like start practicing, right, and remembering these situations, or dogs you can take almost anywhere, unlike cats. Unless you train
Right.
your cat to go with you doing things, not the same. But start imagining things that Tonka would enjoy that can't do as a dog right now. And I'm trying to think of something like ride a roller coaster. Yeah, dogs aren't allowed to do that. But can you imagine Tonka riding a roller coaster?
It's funny that you say that, because there are certain things I could envision him doing. I mean, he's part border collie, so, and not in this physical life, because we tried it once and it didn't work very well, but I could definitely see him herding sheep and like ancestral, like that's just his nature. Be on a farm, I should say, be a farm dog. I could definitely see him be a farm dog. And so I think that those images in my mind of like him running free or herding would be, he would be really happy also. Like he would love to do that. So I think, and cats are different. They're, and they're supposed to be, they're not dogs. I always tell people they're not dogs, they're cats. And there's a reason for that. But so now where do you so where are you going with all this?
Where I'm going with all this is Wolfie's Wish will be the #1 pet loss resource. It's just a matter of time and building that out. And I want people to talk about pet loss grief and take it seriously. And I want people to I want to be the advocate to bring this into conversations and be a platform and say, yeah, people deserve paid time off for pet loss. It's the same. It's absolutely the same, if not more intense. Okay. In my experience, it was more intense than losing family members. I've only lost my grandparents, I haven't lost my parents, but unlike family, our pets are with us 24/7. And there's an unconditional love there. I never fought with Wolfgang. Well, I would draw and he would try to take my pencil, and I would joke that, he needs thumbs if he really wants to be an artist too. But there's something special there. So I want people to know that it is a very intense grief, and it's okay. So that's where I see things going. The cards, if they sell, wonderful. I would love to be in a position to be so prosperous I could give them away to people. There's my dream.
There's your dream. I love what you said. Part of as part of the grief program that Elizabeth and I are offering, one of the things we talked about was that loss being more intense than sometimes family. And I think that people are not, I think, first of all, we judge ourselves for that. We're like, how can I feel this cat or dog loss more than I felt when my parent died or my sibling died, but it is a totally, totally different kind of love. And I think that is that unconditional aspect of it, is they love us no matter what. We're at our best, we're at our worst. And
they treat us the same.
And they treat us the same.
Yeah, we don't have to please them. We just have to feed them and love them.
Right. And I think that that's what makes it sometimes so hard. And I think it would be beautiful if people honored that, employers honored that loss that people have, and even friends and family. And so I love the fact that you talk about on your website that you have resources for family members to help someone go through that. What kind of tools what are you offering there?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is, what not to say. And you touched on that earlier. It's just a pet. It's something that should never come out of anyone's mouth ever again, in my opinion. I want to, rewrite those rules. So that's basically the first thing, is to let people know what's hurtful instead of helpful. I know they're coming from a place of trying to be helpful, and saying things like, well, it could have been worse. These aren't actually helpful. What's helpful is for you to talk to the person that's grieving whether it's a colleague, your boss, friend, neighbor, family member, and say, what can I do to help you? I don't know what you're going through, but I can see that it's hard. How can I help you? Can I put you in touch with a grief counselor? Can I bring you some soup every night to make sure you're eating? Can I just take you to the movies? And I have to say, not everyone is going to want to talk about pet loss, right? So these people, these friends, family members, may be uncomfortable talking about it, and so going there and asking, "What can I do to help?" might need to qualify that and say, I want to help you, but I'm not comfortable talking about the details of the death, or you got to take care of yourself as well, but everyone is different. Everyone grieves differently, and everyone's relationship is different. And the way you talk to your boss is not going to be the same way you talk to your best friend. But if we can, establish that A, it's a serious thing, and B, don't ignore these people that are grieving. They might want to be left alone, and they'll tell you that. But they might, like me, want companionship and feeling surrounded by caring people. I wrote all my friends and I said, I'm having a dinner party. Please come. We're not going to talk about Wolfgang. I just want to be in your company and know that I'm loved. Yeah. So that's what I want the supporters, we're just going to call them supporters, to know. And sure, there's gifts too, flowers, cards, again, it just depends on the relationship. And since we talked about candles, I also made a candle template. So it's really simple. You just print it out and it says, burn when thinking about, and you write in your pet's name or their pet's name, cut it out, tape it onto a glass jar, not a plain candle. And there you go, right? You go pick up a candle at CVS, make it custom. That shows that you care so much. And that person might not have thought of having a candle, right? And honoring them. And there you go. You've just given them something useful and showed that you care.
I remember one of the things I did when I lost Casey was I wasn't ready for a dog, but I remember I went to pet stores or rescue events, mainly because I just wanted to be around animals. Yeah. It was something really healing to me about being around other cats and dogs. And at the time I had 2 cats. So I wanted to be around that dog energy. And so I was like, okay, where can I go where I can spend a lot of time with dogs, or just spend an hour or two around, playing with, because they always make you smile. So I was like, I really want to be around and in that positive way. And I remember thinking to myself, I really don't want, and I was of that point where I was like, I really don't want another pet right now, partly because her care was so intense at the end. And I was a little tired, I was exhausted as far as taking care of her at the end. So I just needed a break of that responsibility, but I didn't want to give up that energy. I just didn't.
That's amazing. I had the same experience. Now, Casey was a dog that you had a while back.
Okay. I had her before. I've had Tonka's going to be is like 11. So, about 15 years ago, but I had her for 19 years. So she was with me all the time. And I was so used to being around a dog. Every day I had cats, but every day, you come home and they're there. And I just wanted to have that dog energy around me.
Yeah.
The licks and the jumps and the, and the silliness and all that kind of stuff. And the love.
And the dog joy. Yeah. Secretly, I'm a dog person, but I could only get my husband to get us cats, agree to cats. So I totally get it. And I don't want to be labeled as a cat lady, although I'm very proud to be one. So it's interesting you said that, because I was so distraught. I actually flew home to the States to be with my mom. And I don't think I've ever done that before, but I was like, I want my mommy. And luckily she's still living and I got to go and spend time with her. But I would go around the neighborhood and I remembered that their neighborhood is so loving that people, when they have to surrender animals, will take them and leave them in the neighborhood. And I'm not advocating that. I don't approve of that, but it has happened. And there are so many cats. And so I'd go on these walks and they always tell me, bring your treats or bring the food. And so literally every block, there's a cat that, they live in someone's garage or like, outside, but it was so great to be around these cats. And they're just greeting me, right? As I go on this walk, and I'm loving on them and going, oh, this feels so good. But, a lot of people aren't ready to get pets right away. Some are.
Right.
And if someone that is listening that is going to lose an animal or has just lost an animal, these are great ways to go and have that energy. Like you said, you could go to a shelter and just play with the animals. Maybe your neighbor has a dog and you want to walk him, or your neighbor has a cat, or one of your friends does, and you want to go be around that energy. It's a great way to kind of bridge that gap of vacancy and void. And then, some people don't get pets again, and that's okay too. But you can always find ways to connect with animals. And those are just some examples of, going fostering even for a short time can be great for the animal and for yourself. I mean, pets do amazing things for our well-being. Let's face it.
That's right. And they are so good for our, as I think through the past 3 years, I think people realize how good they are for emotional well-being, that feeling of isolation and unconditional love and all those things, but also our physical well-being they're really, really great for. But there is something about that energy and honoring that. I know that it was funny because for the podcast, my podcast producer, Eric, asked me if I would record Tonka's bark. So I'm thinking to myself, my last life, Casey was a talker. She didn't bark that much, but she would literally like talk like, rah, 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 rah. Yeah. And I have her.
Yeah, we all know what that's like.
But Tonka's really pretty silent unless he's doing his job. And that's usually protecting the house or me or something. And so, but I have him now, like I have like 4 different recordings of him barking. So that would be one thing that I think that I could see doing, I'm like, in a way, I'm sorry. I don't think I have Chan on tape, because really I should have, because he was so loud. But I think to myself, that would be something really cool to do. Like, at the end, if you kind of are prepared and like record your pet.
I love that. So Wolfgang was a talker. He was more of a dog cat. He would play fetch. He was very, very surprising. Anyway, I waited, I think, 4 months and adopted 2 sister cats on Christmas last year. And one of them, there's Millie and Vanilli. Their names were Mulan and Melly. So they just kind of shifted into Millie Vanilli for me. Anyway, Vanilli is a talker, and she's, very vocal. And she's always got her little chirps and everything. And that's a great idea. So I actually have a ongoing Instagram account that's just for me to record and upload my favorite animal pictures of all my pets, so that I can go back and find those favorite moments, right? And I recommend that, or having an album and getting that started. But I got to make sure I've got her chirps on there, because they're so funny. And then her sister makes this elephant cry, like a distress call, when she really just wants attention. And we're always alarmed by it. We're always like, what? Is everything okay? She just is bored. So having those, and too, like, I really wish I had Wolfgang's nose print or paw print or something like that. And I want to tell listeners that the next time you go to the vet, or maybe you do it at home and you find some safe ink, you can go ahead and do these things, so that you have some lasting thing. And it's really whatever's going to be meaningful to you, right, Jan? People, your listeners, have to ask themselves, what's going to make me feel good later? Is it keeping the collar? Let me plan on that, and putting it on a cuddle dog. Or that's the other thing I want to do, is compile. And I have a blog going with suggestions that I've been making notes. Okay, we're going to suggest recording the animal, but also I need to remind people that being around other animals is very healing after pet loss.
And I love him. Thank you. But as you were saying that, and you were talking about nose prints, paw prints, different things like that, I think that I still have Casey's tags. I have she was 19. She had the same toy for all 19 years. I mean,
What?
she had a frog she would carry in her mouth wherever she went. Like you would say to
A
her,
rubber frog?
no, it was like a cloth.
Frog?
I think I probably laundered it a few times, but it was like, it's this green frog that has a squeaky toy in the center or whatever. And you would say, where's Fisher Frog? And she would go running around the house to look for it. And then she would carry it
That's
around
amazing.
like a baby. Now Tonka was a
That's
real
amazing that it lasted that long.
and Tonka was a chewer. So I don't know that we had any toy for a great lengthy period of time as a chewer.
Right.
So, but I still have her stuffed frog. I like couldn't give it up. I was like, this was hers. I'm gonna have that till till I like I'm not here. Like somebody will find it and they'll probably be like, what is this? Kind of thing.
Right. Why is this here?
Why is this here?
Yeah.
But I can't get rid of it. And and I think the other thing that people have to remember, like I remember when Casey died, her bed stayed out forever because the thought of removing it, I just couldn't do it. Like, I was just like, I can't take it away. It was just too hard for me, even though it was empty. I mean, the cats used to sleep on it, but eventually, but it's just, it was something about it being there that was so meaningful to me. And sometimes I don't want people to think that, oh, I've got to take this away right away. It's kind of like cleaning out a closet for someone who's passed. Sometimes people do it really quickly and sometimes people can't do it or can't face it.
Yeah. It's whatever works, whatever's going to help. And, I'm thinking now of that situation. Did you ever have anyone come over and say, Jen, you got to get rid of the bed? Did anyone ever do that? Okay.
I'm trying to remember if anybody, I think people didn't say I have to get rid of it. I think people commented that it was still out.
Yeah. And I think a good response would be, well, it's helping me right now and I'm not ready to let it go. I feel like there will be some times where maybe people are trying to be helpful and make suggestions, and get you to move on. And to know that they're coming from a place where they are trying to be helpful, but to have some prepared answers instead of, to say something like, I really appreciate your concern, but this is important for me right now. And then change the conversation, and to be prepared for people to make suggestions that are hurtful to you and that they're not trying to be hurtful, right? And I actually had some friends avoid me, and I know it was because they were uncomfortable and didn't know how to support me. They didn't know what I was going through. They didn't have pets. And I have to look at them not as, hey, you weren't there for me, you're a bad friend, but to have compassion for them and say, okay, that's okay. We can still be friends. They just didn't know how to step up and they were uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Right. So I want the listeners to know that not everyone is going to be there for you. And that doesn't mean they don't care about you. They just maybe are uncomfortable around grief or they have their own things. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
Yeah, no. Well, this has been wonderful. And I hope that people go to your website and check out everything you have to offer and go to your Instagram page and whatnot. And why don't you just tell people the best way to get in touch with you?
Oh, email me. I want to be able, as long as I can, to respond to people and help them find the help they need. And so that's Erica@wolfieswish.com. And then we have a Wolfie's Wish Instagram handle, which has some music on there now. So my background is I'm a harpist. I've been a harpist my whole life. And I'm now finding the connection between healing music and pet loss grief, which, never saw that coming. So I do put up occasional songs, but so that's the Instagram. I also read some of the cards there. And then, of course, the website is growing, with the blog, the resources page. We're going to list your book, your workshop, and have interviews on YouTube as well. So people have different channels, not everyone's on Instagram. And really, whether you get the cards or not, I just want people to know, sit down and ask yourself what you need to do to heal. Because if that's how I healed, then I know that will likely at least get you in the right direction to getting the help you need and just accepting that, saying, yeah, I'm in a bad place right now, and that's okay. It's normal. Like you said, we have these our hearts hurt so much because we love so much. And I would not trade anything for the 1 year that I had with Wolfgang. It's only 1 year. I got him during the pandemic for that companionship, and I'm stuck at home, and he had eye herpes, and nobody wanted this kitten, and the person that had this farm and found him couldn't care for him, and blah blah blah. And I wouldn't trade any of it. I wouldn't trade even the way that he passed the tragic freak accident. Uh, it is what it is, and I had to just accept that. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not a bad person. Because I had to go through that. Why did this happen to me? And it's life, and we don't understand everything that happens, but we can accept it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, wise words. Well, I'm sure that we'll be in touch and we'll be on again. And I'm looking forward to it. And now I'm also looking forward to checking out your harp playing because I love the harp. So
yay!
No.
And I forgot. So I have a healing harp playlist on my YouTube channel, which is Wolfie's Wish. So people can go there and just play relaxation music, while you're burning your candle, or you just want to have some focus music. So I try to, and if anyone has any ideas on things that I can do better, please email me. I'd love to just keep growing this. So thank you for having me and for talking about such a yucky thing. Mm-hmm. But it's needed. We need to talk about it.
Yes, we do. Well, thank you. Have a great day, everyone. And thanks for joining us. And we'll connect soon. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Pets, People, Life, and Longevity, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can catch every episode at exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, and wherever you find podcasts.
talk.